Hi everybody, Jill Lancet here, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia. Here's my details here. I've got a bit of music playing, there's a bit of noise around here at the moment, so it shouldn't create too much trouble. So here's my website. This is actually my online store, jilllancet.stampinup.net. And if you go to that website, you can order from there. You can also view the current promotions and sales, and you can also see the current catalogues. My current host code for December 2021 is this, I want to say number, but it's a series of letters. And when you place an order, if your order is under $250, if you can put the host code in, I think it's the page after the ordering. You'll see it in the top right-hand corner of the ordering process. So if you put that in there, if your order is more than $250, please don't use the host code, because you'll actually get some stamping rewards. So tonight we're going to make a little card. It's a bit of a sneak peek for the new catalogue. The stamp set that I'm featuring tonight is this beautiful, it's called In the Moment. I'm not sure if you're getting all of that, but it's really nice. It's kind of, you know, if you've got friends, their girlfriends, this would be a really perfect card for for your friends. I might just move that out a little bit so you can see a little bit more. We're also going to use some dies that come in the this stamps. They come with this stamp set. They're coordinated with this stamp set, and this is the colour and contour. I keep them together. I've taken the dies out. We're using them tonight. I'll show you how we use them. But this is in itself is another lovely stamp set. This is in the annual catalogue. Page 98 in the annual catalogue, the 2021-22 catalogue. That is hard to say. Good job I don't have a stutter, that's all I can say. So the dies are from that set there. Now there's a few things I need to explain to you about the process tonight. And I'll pop the card out of the way for a moment just to show you what we've used. So I've made a card base, and it's 21 centimetres this way, and it's 14.8 and a half millimetres, 0.8. So if you go to 14.8, just nudge it along a little bit, and it'll be at halfway between 48.8 and 48.9. So that's scored at 10.5 centimetres. So that creates this, and this is in what we call Misty Moonlight, this cardstock, and it was, I think, in the last in colours. It's still in the current catalogue, and it's on page 123. I'll show you all those pages shortly. We need another piece of the Misty Moonlight, and it's 11.7 centimetres by 8.4 centimetres. These are the two dies that we're using. I've cut a piece of So Saffron, which is the name of the colour, from this die, and it creates this really lovely sort of like a scalloped edge, almost like a doily, really. So that's that die. And this other one here, even though it provides you with a scalloped edge, it's got this little stitched or little dotted border on the inside, and it fits very nicely inside this one here. So we're going to be using this one to cut out in a minute. The catalogues that I'm using tonight, I cannot show you the inside of this catalogue. I can only show you the front, but this is where the new stamp set in the moment comes from. The ribbon from this card also features in that new catalogue, and it's called the white frayed ribbon. It's about 3/4, well, it's exactly 3/4 of an inch. It's really unusual. It's really quite soft, and it's almost fuzzy. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's almost fuzzy. But it's really, really soft. I thought a bow might be a bit too big, so I just opted for what we call a knot bow. And I've put a little bit of ribbon around this layer here as well, just to tie it in. So that's the cover of the new mini catalogue that's coming out in January. You'll be able to see that on my online store when it's released, but not up until then. Sorry guys. The annual catalogue this is a current annual catalogue now, and I have all the pages, well, not all of them, but I have a lot of the pages tabbed. I don't know if you can see them there. With some of the things that we'll be using tonight. So this is the where is it? I don't know what I had that tabbed for, but anyway, never mind. This one here, page 97, 98 actually, I think it is. Page 98. This is the colour and contour stamp set that I'm using the dies with. The dies are shown down here. If you buy it as a bundle, it's 10% discount. Of course, you can buy them separately, but you're going to pay 10% more. So why not if you're thinking of buying it? On page 129, I'm going to be using these blending brushes here and the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm also going to be using Pool Party. Now what I do is I needed to build up my range of inks, so I bought the ink spots, and they're on page 129, and you get like 5 in a packet and they're uninked when you buy them. So I just buy the re-inkers or the ink refills in the colours that I need, and then if I feel the need to purchase the bigger ink pads, at least I've got the refills that'll go with them for future reference. The cardstocks are also on these pages, 123, and we're going to be using the Misty Moonlight, which is down here in the 20 to 22 in colour collection. That's this blue here. It's really nice, my favourite out of all of those. We're also using the So Saffron, which is up here, and the basic white. So that's the only 3 cardstocks we're using tonight. Okay, I think that's about all that I need to show you from the catalogue. If I think of something else, I'll show you that as well. Okay, so I started to explain some of these pieces to you. And I'll just bring the card back in again. So we're going to mount the So Saffron piece up on some Stampin dimensionals just to give it a bit of dimension. We're also putting this on Stampin dimensions as well, so that will give it double height. If you worry about posting it, you can always just glue this panel down flat if you want to. Leave off the big bow if that's going to be an issue. Maybe use some twine. Twine would work. To me, this reminds me of a beachy scene, so twine would work for sure. So I have it set up in the Stamparatus. I always seem to be using the Stamparatus because I couldn't stamp straight to save my life. So if you've not seen the Stamparatus, this is it. And it's a hinged stamping platform, basically. And the good thing about the Stamparatus is that these plates actually come out. And I have a few spares. You get two. Currently, at the moment, they're in the clearance store, so you can buy extra for your Stamparatus. They just click in. You can take them out, turn them around. At the moment, I've got 3 stamps on the Stamparatus, and they're already positioned. So that's a time saver for me, especially if you're making multiples. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you what I've got going here. Okay, I have my cardstock in there. The magnet is holding it there. I've already stamped the greeting because I needed to stamp the greeting first in order to place the image. And what I've got here is a simple post-it note. Now, everybody's got post-it notes, but this image is quite delicate. We're going to actually cut out all these little bits here. So I discovered that in Australia here, Officeworks has about the same size as these, and the whole back of it, bar about 1/4 of an inch or so, is actually sticky. So you've got all of this space, whereas with these, you need to position it so that you stamp on the sticky part so that you're going to use it. But what I did earlier was I used a label, a mailing label, and I can't even remember where I got these from. I've had them for a long time. And they're just mailing labels, but they're supposed to be repositional. In other words, you can remove them. But I found that it was really, really sticky. So what I did was I kind of de-stickified it, and I'm using that as a technical term. So I'll show you what that means in a minute. But so I stamped it on there first, and I've kept it in here for future reference. And I fussy cut it out. So, I mean, it's not quick, but it's not a terrible drama to fussy cut around it. But if you've done all that work, keep it. So what I did to de-stickify it was, once I fussy cut it and peeled the protective paper from it, I stuck it into the palm of my hand or across my arm or onto some clothing or something like that a few times, just to get the excess stickiness off it so that I can lift it when I'm finished. So I'm going to show you how to place that. So I've got the stamp here. It's already positioned in the Stamparatus, and I'm going to use the Memento Black. Now, I like to overstamp this again after I've coloured it. We're going to be using the blends, the Stampin blends, so you'll get a bit of an idea how they work as well. So I'm just going to stamp this up. It's really a nice stamp. This is basically the first time I've been using it. And if you can see there, I have positioned the message so that it sort of tucks in around the image. So you lay it down and you just gently put a bit of pressure on that and give it a bit of time for the ink to actually soak into the paper, to the cardstock. And this is our basic white cardstock. It's quite smooth. And if I wasn't happy with that, I could stamp it again, but I am going to stamp over that. So that's good enough for me at the moment. So the next thing I was going to do was the greeting for the inside. And what I did with some of the basic white, I cut it out in the same shape as the So Saffron that's on the front of the card, just to tie it in. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but I've actually done a bit of inking with our blending brush, and I did it when it was in here, and I've just put a little magnet on there to hold that in place. These magnets are so strong. I have a lot of trouble with them. So what I did was I just inked up the brush. This is one of our Stampin' Blend brushes. And just rub it over gently. Now, as I said, I just use these little ink spots, but if I wanted to buy the full ink pads, I can do that later and just keep these for classes or something like that. So I found with these is to sort of always get a bit of that ink off first, and I just, where I reckoned the message was going to be, I've just lightly swirled a bit of colour in. Now all this does is ties the inside of the card in with the outside, with the front of the card. And I'm not sure if you can see that, I'm not sure if it's picking up, but it's just putting a really light background of the pool party, which is a light colour anyway. So then I turn this around and pop this back down. I'm finished with the girl, so I clean it with my Stampin' chamois, and it's just like really dense foam, and it's just damp. It's just barely damp and cleans beautifully every single time. Now I cut them down. They come about the size of the stamps cases, and a lot of people keep them in there, but I found this really cute little kids snack thing, and it's really good. I can keep putting them in, putting them out, and it keeps them moist for a long time. So I've positioned the stamp already. I've positioned this with the edge of the Stamparatus. Okay, so I lined it up with the edge. It's lined up with here, so I know where it's going to go. And I hope this is straight. If not, well, that's showbiz, isn't it? But the Stamparatus is really, really good, because if you're not a confident stamper, you really only need to set it up, which probably is the thing that takes the longest, you know, is getting it in position and getting it straight. But once you've done that, there's no problems. Now, it is supposed to be like a brush stroke font, but I'm just going to go over it again just to give it that really dark finish, especially the smaller text. Now you can see this is on the other side, so it doesn't matter. I'm just pressing it, so it's fine. Okay, so that is the inside of our card done. And yep, it's fairly straight. I'm calling that straight. It's handmade. As somebody says, it's handmade, not Hallmark. So we're going to use some of the blends, and I've got them already here. And I'll show you how we go about that. The blends are alcohol based. They dry very quickly. They blend beautifully, hence I guess the name. So we're still going to cut this out. So this is not the finished size or anything. So if you're wondering why it looks a bit strange. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mask off our girl. And this is probably the trickiest bit. Now, as I said, I fussy cut this out. And I tried to cut towards the inside half of the lines, if you know what I mean. Like if you look at the line here on her elbow, I've cut it closer to the inside rather than the outside, and there's a reason for that, because when we do the blending, it'll look like it's coming right up against it. And there's a lot of fiddly little things in this one, so just give me a second while I just make sure that it's done. Now, I don't know if you can notice, but her glass is half empty, half full, half empty, whatever you want to say. And I did that purposely because the background would actually go behind the glass. I'm just going to move her over just a smidge. That hat is not sitting right. But I forgot to cut this little bit out here, but it doesn't matter because we're going to use the blends to fill in any little discrepancies, and you'll see what I mean as we go along. Okay, so I've got that in place now, and I'm using our blending brush first, and I'm just picking up some ink, and you can see it there. And I like to have a bit of scrap paper and just dab that off. Now, what I'm trying to aim for is to make it a little bluer around her and have it fade out to almost nothing as it goes out. And it's very achievable with these blending brushes. They're very, very soft. They're almost like velour or velvet. They're so finely packed in there. Yeah, they're really, really nice. I don't know who invented them for this, but did a good job. And that's just come up. Doesn't matter because we're going to be colouring over that anyway. So try and just go around in circles and make the pressure just a little bit lighter as you go out. We just want to have like a halo of colour around her, and you just keep building it up. Okay, so little light coats rather than heavy ones, and you'll build that colour up and you'll get the result that you want, which is that like halo around her. Sometimes if you don't just tap that colour off, you get a great big blur, like it just kind of spoils it a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm done there because we're going to be cutting this down and we don't need to have the whole thing coloured. So I'll just pop the lid on that. Put that over there. Now, just lifting this up and you'll see what we've actually achieved. Now, if you're careful, you can keep using this over and over again. If it starts to become not so sticky, the Tombow glue, this green glue, the Tombow Mono Multi, I can never say it. You can read it there. If you put little dots on there and allow that to dry and then kind of do the same de-stickifying, it will become a repositional glue. So that's handy to know too. So I usually pop that back in the stamp set that I'm going to, that it belongs to. I usually just stick it in the inside of the cover, so I've got it for next time. And when I use any other of them, I will fussy cut them and I will be able to put them in with the stamp sets as well. So now we've got our background, and as I said, it's a very light, it's very, very light halo. I want to say halo. So now I'm going to use the blends, and I'm going to start with probably the darkest ones first. Now, this is Light, Misty, Moonlight. Now, these, as I said, these are our blends. they come in a set of two. You get a light one and a dark one. I relabeled them because I can never see the names on them. So it's very small. So I start with the light one, and I don't know whether you can tell on the card, but I've given it this sort of like, I did the whole thing in light and then just went over it in dark where I would think that shadow would be. And they blend so well that it's really easy to do. So I'm just going to use the, I think it's called bullet tip. You get a bullet tip and you get like a brush tip. And this is great for if you're doing large areas, but with these little small areas, sometimes it's easier just to use this. So I hope you can see. And I'm basically just drawing lines. And it really is that easy. So if you're looking for a way of colouring that is quick and easy, you can build up this collection of the blends, and they last for a very long time. So not only is that blue, but also her belt is, I made that the light blue, or the lighter Misty Moonlight, and the band on her hat. And I did around there, there's a couple of little spots where yeah. So that's for that one. Now I go in with the dark, and it would be darker on this edge because I'm making the sun, she's facing the sun, okay? Or it's coming from this area here. So this would be darker. I'm just telling you my thought process as I'm going along. And because these railings are underneath the banister, there would be a bit of a cast shadow there. There's cast shadow in here because she's standing in front of it. Her arm is blocking some of it. And you've got more cast shadow here. That's it. That's it for the dark, the blues. I just remembered one I forgot to put in. So the hat I made So Saffron, and the reason I did that was, to me, I thought, you know what, that looks like it could be a straw hat. So I coloured the whole thing with the light, and it's quite a pale yellow. Once you've cut everything, the colouring doesn't really take that long. Now the good thing about these blends is, as I said, they really blend really well. So she's going to have a bit of a shadow there. That part of the hat is going to be dark. That part of the brim is going to be dark. And sometimes you don't even have to try and blend them, but I'm going to show you how they blend. Yeah, that's it. How good's that? Her dress is Mango Melody, and I coloured it light, the whole dress light, and then I went in with the darker one. So I'm going to use the brush tip this time, and it really does make it quick. I mean, you could spend more time on this than I'm going to, if that's what you want to do. But why? Work smarter, not harder. And they do give a really beautiful smooth finish. These are the type of markers that all the graphic artists use when they're doing those graphic novels. because they are so good to colour with. So using the thick brush end, I'm just going to create some shadows here, under here. The good thing about the Stampin' Up stamps is that for the most part they tell you where there's going to be a shadow. So if you just follow the artist's guidelines, you really can't go wrong. So now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to show you how those two colours blend. I don't know if you can see. I'll just bring that up a little bit. I hope I'm in camera. I'm not very good at this, I must say. But you can see a definite tide mark, for want of a better word. So I just go over it again, and I go over the whole dark as well. I go over the whole light, go over the whole dark. And it just kind of smooths it out. Yeah, it's about all I can say. The skin is, you get these in a set. You get ivory, yes, ivory, and you get bronze. They come in a set, so they can be for skin tone or whatever you like. The skin tone was all ivory, and I don't know if you can notice there, but you can see a bit of shadow there. I just basically went over it the second time to create that bit of shadow on her arm, and I'm going to do that now, so I'll show you. Now it looks darker, but it does dry lighter. So basically just colour it all in, let it dry, and then go back in. And yes, I can see that bit of a triangle there that's quite annoying, but I'm going to show you how I fix that in a minute. That little triangle that I didn't cut out. So I've coloured that in once, so I'm going to go back in now and create where the shadows would be. I'm simply doing a second coat. And under here, down there. Hope I'm in camera. Now I'll just hold that up for you so you can see the two different tones there, and that's just simply by going over and giving it a second coat. Okay, so we're pretty much half done. Well, we're more than half done. Her hair, I used the dark cinnamon cider. So I'll just colour that in. Okay. That little triangle that bothers me so much, I'm using the Light Pool Party blend. I'm using the bullet tip. Now I could have done the background with the blends, but the brush is quicker. I wanted that fading out finish. That's why the blending brush is so good, because you can achieve that quickly. And I'm using the light cherry cobbler for her glass of wine. So start in the middle. Sometimes these markers do bleed a little bit, so try not to go too close to the edge on the smaller images. And if you do happen to go over them again, sometimes that creates the colour to spread out. And I did do that with this little glass on the front of this card. So, yeah, just depends. Okay, so that's all the colouring done now. And I want to cut that out using our smaller of the two dies, and that's this one here. Now this is the little Stampin cut and emboss machine. Don't know if you've ever seen one of these. But it just sits on your desk. It's quite a good size. These two little things come open. You might not be able to see this really well because the lighting is just basically desk lamps. So I want to position this, and I always use sticky tape, and it's just the repositional sticky tape. So line it up where you want it. And just looks straight, looks pretty straight. I just do that because I never do anything straight. I'm not taking any chances. So if I can help myself, I will. Now they just sandwich between these plates, and it just cranks through, and it'll cut that beautifully, and I'll show you when I get it going. It's not hard to do. It's a bit awkward with the camera above you though. So you just turn this handle here, the thing moves through, pops out the other side. Get that out of the way. And it just pops out. Just be aware of your tape. And it's lovely. It's perfect. Okay, so we've got that done now. And now we're ready to assemble. So we've got our inside piece, the front of the card. We've got the rest of our bits and pieces. First of all, I will pop the insert in. And I use the Tombow glue. It's a wet glue, and it doesn't dry straight away. I mean, it doesn't take very long to dry, but it allows you to wriggle that around and get it in the right place. Okay. So we've just kind of continued the design of the card to the inside of the card by cutting this piece out with the same die. Okay, and sometimes it's easier just to turn the card over and rub the back of it. Okay, so that's that done. So now we're going to build our card, and I'll pop this here so you can see. Now I measured the inside area of this card so that I could have this contrasting piece fit really well inside it. So this piece is 11.7 centimetres by 8.4 centimetres. Okay, so it's 11.7, 8 by 4. And initially I was going to just glue all this down, but I wanted this piece of ribbon in here, and this is a new ribbon. As I said, it's in the new catalogue, and I haven't used it before, so you know, that was a plus to use it tonight. So you get quite a lot on a spool. Let me just see how much, if I can find it. It's 5 yards or 4.6 metres. Now that's a lot of ribbon, given that you're only using small amounts like this. But it is very, very soft. It's surprisingly soft. I don't know how else to describe that, but I decided that I wanted to put that between these two layers. So that negated kind of gluing this directly down. So what I did was I just counted the scallops to get it straight. So I've gone up 1, 2. And when I do get the new Stampin' Seal, that's what I'll be using, the Stampin' Seal Plus, I beg your pardon. I'm still using the old fast fuse, only because I've got stacks of it. But it is very strong, and I believe that the Stampin' Seal Plus is just as good, if not better. So this is my silicone mat, and the glue won't stick to it. But sometimes you've got to get these things going a little bit. So I counted up my 1, 2, put a row of this stuff there, put a row of it there, and then I popped my ribbon over here, over to the front of the card, and just folded it around to the back. Now, I know that the glue tape's there, and I know exactly where to put it because I measured the scallops, so it's straight. And this was popped up on the front of the card using dimensionals. Now, Stampin' dimensionals come in black and also in white. They also come in 2 different sizes. She says, of course, I haven't got the other size here to show you. They come in these little mini ones, and they come in this size here. And you get the black ones, you get in one pack. You get both sides in one pack, because we probably wouldn't use black as often as we would use the white. So the minis are great if you're doing small images and you want to stick those on. They're great. But I'm going to just use these normal Stampin' dimensionals. And I like to use a lot of them. I don't like saggy cards. So just bear with me while I go through the monotony of putting all of these on. Oh, I've put them on the wrong side. Hold your horses, honey. There's always something, isn't there? Always something. Fortunately, that's going to be covered, so no harm done there. Right, take 2. I've had a few take 2s tonight. I started to record, and the neighbours have got little kids, and they were all playing really loudly in the bedroom that is basically straight opposite this room here. And I couldn't hear myself think, so fortunately I'd only recorded a small portion, and I was able to just start again when they quietened down. But that's life. That's life in the burbs. So you might think that's overkill, but I like to have my cards secure. And there's a quick way to get rid of all of these little things, and you just stab them with take your pick tool and flick them off, and it holds quite a few before you've got to put them in the bin. But it makes it easy to get rid of them, because these things, honestly, okay, must be time to put them in the bin. These things get everywhere, and they can become like statically stuck to everything. So that's a bit of a problem sometimes. Okay, now the card is not exactly the same, but I'm going to centre it up as in top and bottom, I hope, and side to side. Okay, so that's in place there. Then we're going to put our image onto this piece of Misty Moonlight, and it just fits. It just fits between both of those 2 die cuts. So to me, that just sort of finishes it off. It ties it all in. So we're going to glue that directly to the Misty Moonlight, and then we're going to mount that up onto the dimensionals and pop it up onto that saffron piece. Now, they're actually little holes, so try and avoid putting glue into them, because it will actually ooze out. So pop that on. And just make sure that's centered. Looks good. Okay, give that a bit of a back rub and put some more dimensionals. Now we want to avoid this area where the ribbon is. So we know about there is a no-go zone. So we'll pop a few here. About there. Sometimes it's easier to bend them from the backing sheet. I like to put a few in the middle just to create stability. Just had a terrible thought that I was putting them in the wrong place. So take your pick again. Now, I'm not sure what time I started, but once everything is cut, it really doesn't take long to make a beautifully coloured card when you know how to use these tools that we have. So, sorry, I think I just bumped the camera. Going to hopefully line that up. Now we've got a bit of dimension happening in this card. Not sure if you can see that there, but both layers are raised. And then finally I thought with this ribbon it was a bit too wide to create a bow. I mean, it's soft enough, but I just thought it was a bit too big. So this is what we call a faux bow. And it's just basically a knot, and I like to leave it on the spool. You don't waste too much if you do it this way. You know, like trying to guesstimate how much you need for that can be a bit tricky sometimes. So just manipulate it. It's just basically a knot, and then just snip it off. I like to snip it off straight, because then I've got a straight edge when I need it next. So discover which side you prefer, which side of the knot you prefer. You could leave the edges straight. I actually trimmed them a bit. And you can trim them when they're on the card if you prefer to do that. As I said, that might be a bit bulky if you're putting that through the post, but I mean, you could leave it without it. I'd put some bling or something in this corner just to balance it out. You can see it definitely needs something in this corner here. So just use a couple of glue dots and pop that on there. These glue dots, we sell these glue dots in my online store if you need them. They're tiny little dots of glue. I usually use a couple. So you just pop it on, peel it off. And they're very sticky, and when you leave them for a little while, they do actually become firmer. So I kind of put it at an angle to tie it in with where this ribbon was. Basically, that's the reason I did that. It filled that little corner. Yeah, I hope you like this card. As I said, it's the first time I've used this set. When you look inside, we've got a nice little card that ties in with the front and a really nice message, because women, I think, do tend to put themselves last. So that's a really nice message if you ask me. And we do need to take some me time. So if you know somebody that is always on the go, it's a nice little message to send to them. Anyway, I hope you liked that card. Now I have two. And you got a bit of an idea of how to use the blends and mix and match stamp sets and die sets as well. So anyway, if you go to my online store, you can find all of those items except for the things that are in the new catalogue. Sorry, that was me. Sorry, bumping the camera again. But that will be out in January. So I'll see you on the next video. Good night, everybody. Happy crafting.